Kabbalistic concept of energies and vessels is actually something we can very strongly relate to in our day-to-day lives. When we think about something or imagine something in our minds, we're conceptualizing something, so to speak, spiritual. In other words, something which is not tangible and not real. We're imagining something else, but where are we imagining it? We're imagining it within our physical brains. That is a vessel. So the idea we're thinking about is like an energy, a conceptual, spiritual idea, which is being housed within the vessel of our brain. These spiritual energies are like potentials. In other words, when we imagine something, let's say we're imagining to build a house, that is a potential to eventually go ahead and build that house. In other words, we can take this imagination, bring it into fruition, find the contractor, find the builders, and then we can go ahead and bring that into a house. But if we would have never imagined that idea in the first place, then we would never go ahead and bring this into fruition, into action, into the world eventually. So it turns out that that imagination is really the potential for this thing to eventually come into action. Using this concept of energy and vessels, we can understand how God created this world. In other words, God is infinite and spiritual and beyond anything human we can connect to or understand. But he uses these vessels. In other words, he uses these things which can receive the infinite energy and transform them and bring it down into a physical world where it is received and understood and creates. The issue, though, still remains because in its first stages, where does God get these vessels from? Are we saying that there's God and his vessels? No, obviously, God created these vessels. These vessels are created out of nothing or out of his true pure infinity. But if that's the case, that means that these vessels really are infinite and somewhat spiritual themselves. They are. So how do we come eventually? Now, the truth is there are many stages of energy and vessels, and then after the energy is dispensed from the first stage of vessels, they become even more coarse and more physical, and they get closer and closer until they reach us and create us into a physical and real thing. But how do these vessels have the power to become something physical and tangible, something that we can relate to? God is infinite. Now, the truth is, if we think about it, and God is really infinite, in other words, what we're saying is God can do everything. In other words, he has the power to be himself and express himself in infinite energies, but he also has the power to restrain, hold back, and limit all those infinite energies and bring them into a physical and limited form in the form of us.